Hello and welcome to the Bry Samua Show. I'm Bry.
I'm Samua.
We're so glad you're here to join us again. Can you believe we've been at this for what, 4 months?
Yeah, November. Well,
Yeah.
technically we've been at it for like 18 months, 2 years almost.
Well, yeah, you're right. It's been a lot longer than that. But however,
We've gone live November 5th.
yeah. So we have
I will remember forever that day because
yeah, me too.
the start of your journey,
It was.
leukemia and all that stuff.
Yep. So we're glad you're here. We're glad you keep coming back. And for those of you that are new, thank you so much. Please, if you wouldn't mind hitting that like button, subscribe, and we're on all different platforms. So go try to find us if you can. It'll be like a scavenger hunt.
Make sure to check out past episodes. We touch upon everything about life. We were just joking that based on the way the last few months for us have gone, we should have named this Life Be Lifing or something like that instead of the Bry Samua Show. So no matter what type of friends you are, what your lifestyle is, I bet you there's an episode for you guys.
Well, and think about it. When we first started doing this, we're like, oh gosh, we're going to have to think about what we come up with in between episodes to talk about. But it's kind of written itself.
Life's like, we'll make it easy for you. We'll just blow everything up every 2 weeks, and then you ladies have a topic.
Every couple of weeks, we have something new, and we have something new today. And it's brand new, and it's just come across in the past month. And, it kind of writes itself. And that's one of the reasons why we did this show.
Yeah, I mean, 2025 was like digging its nails in, picture like dragging a toddler out of Target that really wants you to buy it a particular toy and you're just that mom. Like that was 2025 going out.
Yeah, we're ready for 26 to calm down and stop the nonsense.
Yeah, I mean, famous last words, right? Leo and I do this all the time. These next few weeks are really crazy because we're out of town, we're doing this, we're doing that, the kids have this. But then it will calm down. And by the time and then it calm down rolls around, it's like, wait, now there's new things that got scheduled in there. So famous last words.
It never calms.
But that's life.
It is life. It is life. So what's been happening with you over the past, since the last time we recorded?
Quite a bit. I think though for you was a little bit crazy at the end there before let's go chronological.
Okay, perfect. I think it makes a lot of sense.
So. We're like texting about, you got to stop with these crazy texts that come out of nowhere because we're just texting about, I don't know, getting together or getting a cup of coffee. And then all of a sudden it's the next text like, oh, by the way, I got diagnosed with leukemia. I'm in the ER. Wait, what? And then your text was, by the way, we had to send the well check-in for my brother-in-law.
Yeah. So for any of you that have dealt with family members or friends that have had addictions, you know how hard that can be. It's years leading up to the inevitable, unfortunately. Hopefully they can get better, but a lot of times it depends on them. And this was the situation for us with my brother-in-law, Josh. He had been dealing with alcoholism for a long, long time. And he went to rehab. We were so excited this past summer.
I know. I remember we were in Florida when he was wrapping that up and he was calling you and you were coming up with all these great plans and he sounded like he was at such a great spot and just ready to really get himself together and move forward.
So what we did is we helped him get an apartment and moved him in and got him all settled in a really nice place where he didn't have a car, so he could walk to different places, right? So we wanted to make sure it was convenient and that he could get anything that he needed. And we were super excited because he was sober, had been sober for almost 50 days, which is a really long time. He looked good. He had a long way to go physically because he had been doing this for quite a while. But we were optimistic, very optimistic for him. Unfortunately, with addiction, it is an addiction. And it takes that person wanting it as bad as you want it. We wanted it so bad and we hoped he did too. But unfortunately, he didn't, and he went right back to it pretty quickly. And physically, his body just couldn't take it. And a few days after Christmas, he passed away from natural causes, but causes that were from alcoholism. Yeah. And just, it wasn't like it was a shock for us, but it also was, I mean, it's hard to describe. We were all talking as a family. We just know we're going to get that call one day. But then when you get that call, you're still unprepared for it. Yeah. It's hard to explain. You know it's coming, but you pray it's not. But then when it does, you're still in that state of shock.
I know my husband was in the same boat, dealing with family members who had severe addictions. And I remember within a few months of us started dating, he was out of town and it was around the time when his sister had passed away because his sister died when she was 21 and he was 16 in a car accident. Not her fault. She was struck by another driver and she actually wasn't even driving. She was a passenger. The anniversary of her death always hit her, his father really badly. and my husband was out of town. So he was a little bit stressed out about it. And then I ended up, in lieu of him being here, I was going to go visit with his dad, but then he had an infection going on. So my husband's like, don't, because you have the kids. I don't want you to bring that back to them. So I just dropped off Luigi's, which was like his favorite, and a couple other little things for him. And because I did that, the nurse just went in at a time that they normally wouldn't and found him, overdosed, and so it saved his life. And then my husband and I were having conversations about that. And I remember him saying to me, like, it's still so hard. I've been holding my breath and waiting for this man to die for like 85 years of my life. Yes. But yet, like you said, you expect it, but it's still hard and unexpected.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
It's weird. And, even though I've been through this before with my brother, same thing, right? Alcohol addiction, all that. And he died when he was 42. And his was a suicide, so he did take his own life. So I had a little bit, unfortunately, of experience with this. However, it still doesn't make it any better at all. No. At all.
In some ways, was it harder? Like, did it trigger anything from like what you experienced with your brother, and the fact that you're like having to relive that almost?
A little bit, and it was hard because I kept trying to put on Josh, my brother. I kept saying, well, my brother did this, and it just wasn't the same. So I would say for anyone that's in a position today where they're caring for somebody or they're related to somebody that's going through something like this, you can't put you can tell them what you're thinking. Brad, my husband, was very honest with him. You've got a path. You've got two paths right now. This one where you stay sober, you get a job, and you really, take yourself, into a really good place, or this path where you don't, and this is your end result. And you can tell them that all day long, but it's not yours to fix. And I think that was the hardest thing for me, was going through it the second time, recognizing that it's not mine to fix, because they've got to want it. If he wanted it, we would have moved the world for him, but he didn't want it. And so you can't fix somebody that doesn't want that fix. And so we took a step back after we moved him in. And once we realized that he was drinking again, it was so disappointing, but we just really needed him to make that choice and see if he could feel bad again, to make himself feel like, gosh, I felt so good a month ago. Now I feel like this isn't what I want. I want this, but that never happened. But he had to want it.
Yeah.
We could do everything that we could do to set him up, but he had to take that move, and we couldn't do it for him. So I think that's hard as a family member or caregiver to come to that realization. And then the worst part is not to have the guilt after.
Yeah.
Oh, I should have done more. I should have done this, or I should have done that. You can't feel that way, because as long as you've helped as much as you can, knowing that they've got to do the rest.
Yeah.
And that's tough.
I mean, it's like they say, right? You can lead a horse to the water, but you can't make him drink it.
Yeah.
And from our friendship through the years and conversations we've had, and then even hearing your side of the conversation when you were actually on the phone with him, when we were in Florida back in September, I definitely know. And I hope you and Brad for sure know. You guys definitely did do everything.
His whole family did. His sister and his brother and their spouses were great. They, he was calling everybody, and everybody was uplifting him and talking to him, and, how proud we were of him to take the step that he did to go into rehab, how excited we were for him to have that future and that life. And, so I think the whole family was there to support, but again, we couldn't do it for him. And that's the hard part. That's really the hard part. And that's where you've got to know that you've done everything that you can, so you don't carry that guilt with you moving forward. You still have it, unfortunately, but
sure,
at least you still feel like there's things you could have done. But in the long run of everything, and I'll say this to everybody out there, do what you can, but you've got to know that they've got to want it too, or you're not going to get anywhere. And it's going to be so frustrating for you.
Well, in some ways, if you had done more, like you guys already had set up from what I know what you've done in the last month of him moving in, you guys already had set up so many safety nets and like the bowling bumpers to keep the ball from going in the gutter. You guys had done so many of those moves where you could, to try to make sure you had an apartment for at least a year. You guys make sure that was going to be taken care of, because you knew he was going to be irresponsible or whatever, even just financially, even if he didn't go back to necessarily drinking, you knew that was going to be potentially a hiccup for him. So I feel, from what I know, you guys set up so many bumpers and safety nets, where to a certain point, because then even if you go more than that, then they start to resent you. Wow. That could actually work negatively, where maybe it pushes them more to drinking, because they don't, or whatever the addiction is, because they're not recognizing. It's like having a kid and having a teenager, right? It's like that balance of how big do I let your leash be and not, because then you can get too far the other direction that creates they rebel because of the sake of you're suffocating them or you're controlling too much or whatever. And especially when it's an adult and it's not even a teenager.
And the third thing is enablement.
Mm-hmm.
You do so much for them that they're enabled. Like I'm only going to buy you a 6-pack. I'm not going to get you a 12. I'm only going to get you a 6 because, you can only drink 6 beers. And then you're enabling them because you're trying to help them. And in the long run, I'm going to give you some money to get you by and stuff like that. We were kind of thinking at some point he was going to have to really hit rock bottom to really feel it and understand that he's the only one that can drag himself out of it.
Yeah.
And, not enable that behavior because that's bad too. So there's a balance in there and it's just hard to strike that balance. So for anybody that's gone through this, I think you know what I'm talking about. There's that balance that you've just got to strike. And knowing if you're hitting it right, I think sometimes is difficult.
Well, the crazy thing is in the last 3 years or so, you would have thought he would have recognized some of the situations he got himself into was rock bottom. And how was that not rock bottom for you, dude? Me being the outsider listening to the stories is he's choosing to live this way. This doesn't.
Yeah, but somebody always bailed him out. And so because of that, it was almost working against it.
Yeah.
And it was counterproductive for him, even though obviously he didn't realize it. But he was willing to take it. But that just meant that he could do what he wanted to do, which was drink and excess. And that was really the hard part.
The crazy, saddest part of, I think, well, I shouldn't say necessarily the saddest or craziest, but in the context was the fact that he had been passed away for a couple of days before.
Yes.
Anybody even knew. And that's just kind of obviously a very sad thought overall, especially knowing that he had such a great family and support system around him, So
we were used to checking in, once a week or something. We weren't really calling him every day. And so it was probably right after Christmas.
Right.
So obviously the holidays, you're speaking and talking. And then the other thing that we did is we had a bank account with him. And we could watch the spending because we were trying to make sure that the money was there and he was being responsible. And we started seeing there was no spending. And that was a big red flag for us. Yeah. So that also triggered us to go. And we did do a wellness check. We had somebody go check on him. And then unfortunately, that's what we found out. So it was rough. And it's hard. I mean, we're hoping that he's at peace now because he didn't really have a peaceful life when you think about it. Yeah. There's a lot of anxiety and a lot of stress that goes into that for that person, I'm sure, that we can't even begin to understand, that they're trying to get rid of through the alcohol, right? And so that's our hope for him.
Yeah.
For sure.
We actually were kind of in the same boat with 2025 ending for us. We dealt with a family death that we knew was also coming for different reasons, but then was still kind of unexpected and dealing with that. So my husband's uncle, Jimmy Cormanick, who was this phenomenal harmonica player locally. And
I've heard nothing but Facebook has gone crazy with all the musicians. It's been nuts.
And it is great. It's funny because my husband was his nephew, and it's just funny, being at the funeral and seeing the Facebook posts of his close friends and musicians, which he loved music. And it was just from what everybody was saying, every fiber of his being, and clearly made him come alive and brought him so much joy, being during it, creating it. But then it's my husband's version of his uncle as a child, different being, obviously him with his peers versus his nephew who's a child. Because he was just always reserved and quiet, always kind. And everybody kept saying at the funeral, and it's true. And my husband concurs. You never heard him speak negatively of anybody and things like that. But to my husband, and he's I almost was scared of him mostly growing up because he was all at family functions. He would just be kind of quiet and reserved. And then my husband did work with him because he was a roofer. And so when he was in college, and he worked with him one summer, and even before this was even going down, one of the first times that his Uncle Jimmy came up in a story or I met him or something, he was saying how he remembers working with him on a roof, and at the end of the summer he paid him in cash, and then he's I never want to see you on a roof again. Make sure you keep your act together, get through school,
Yeah.
So that was just interesting to then now see the musician, his peers come out, and he was always full of energy and silly and goofing off. And it's just funny because my husband's that's not how I interacted with him,
Well, what's funny is we keep having these moments where we keep seeing things keep happening where we have mutual friends we don't even know. So a really good friend of ours posted on Facebook about him that she'd played with him. Yeah. And I sent that to you.
Yeah.
And I'm it's such a small world because Becky Plush, who is a singer who Brad has played for and stuff, actually played with him too and knew
Yeah.
him. Isn't it crazy how our paths kind of intersect all
It is.
with the separation thing?
The 7 degrees of separation.
Yeah, from Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
But we'll just say from Samoa.
Yeah. The one thing that makes me sad is we definitely did not spend enough time with him. Again, just how family dynamics works out. No particular reason, not for any like negative situation. But I never got to hear him play.
Yeah.
So that like live, I've seen videos and stuff.
But
so that's kind of a bummer that it just, there's a couple times, really since my husband and I've been together, I think only a couple times was there like a buzz or we knew of a time he was going to be playing. And it was just one of those, either we were out of town or the kids had a thing, and just we weren't able to make, so I never got to see him play. But on December 26th, so right after Christmas, we saw him because we went to go pick up his grandson, Tommy. So we were like trying to figure this out. So Tommy is my husband's first cousin once removed. And then he is Mariah's second cousin. In Brazil, like that exists, but not really. It's like just cousins,
right, right.
And anybody that's like 15 plus years older than you is an aunt. It doesn't matter like where they fall in the family tree. So, Uncle Jimmy had been sick for a while and he had cancer, liver cancer, I think for almost 2 years and had been getting treatment. But then in the last few months, I think starting since maybe end of summer, it stopped responding to treatment and things were getting worse. But again, it's weird. We only live a half an hour away, but we might as well live 3 states over. So we just didn't really connect a lot. And they're in their world, we're in kind of our world. But then going into Christmas break, I'm sure that's going to be a lot for them, because Tommy won't have school and just being home all day. It's winter. It's not as easy as taking him outside to a playground. So reached out, hey, we'll hang out with Tommy, this day. So we picked him up on the 26th.
And how old is Tommy?
He's 5.
Okay.
And he's exactly, he's just over 13 months older than Mariah. His birthday is in August 2020 and hers is September 2021. And then we had connected with them a couple times a year, family birthdays and events, things like that. And the last one was actually Nico, one of Leo's cousin's kids' birthday party. And Mariah and Tommy like just hit it off, and they were the two running around the house the whole time. And everybody we would always hear these stories about how much energy Tommy has and how much energy, and then we'd be like, but that just kind of sounds like how Mariah is. Right. So anyways, Tommy hangs out, had a good time with him. So we're like, let's pick him up one more time and over break, and we'll keep him overnight. And at this point, Tommy had never slept over at anybody's house overnight. But now we're up for the challenge. We'll see how it goes. They did well. It'll just be one night, not a big deal. Well, unfortunately, Uncle Jim ended up going to the ER. And at that point, even when we saw him on the 26th, yes, things weren't great. But we kind of thought we had a few more months. Right. We thought, it's not any day kind of a situation. He seemed, we knew because of the history and the details that it wasn't great, but interacting with him and seeing him, it's not terrible. He has at least, he has months. We'll get through into the new year kind of thing. Right. And unfortunately it didn't happen. And then there was little Tommy and just kind of figuring out where does he go and what happens with him. And at that point we had him already, I think for 3 or 4 days in a row. So we'll just keep Tommy because.
Why was he staying with his grandpa?
Just issues with his biological parents weren't okay to have him. And so grandpa had custody of him since he was an infant. Yeah. So grandpa was, all Tommy knew as a parent, which was funny too, because after he was with us for a couple days in a row, then it was, I miss my papa, I miss Jimmy, I miss dad. And we're like, let me just reach out to somebody. I just want to make sure
you're not missing anybody.
Yeah, that is Jimmy to him, because he didn't refer to him as dad very often, but it would come out all of a sudden after 3 or 4 days with us, all of a sudden that would come out. And then I'd be like, wait, is that who he's talking about? Or where are we at? And it was a crash course for Tommy into hanging out with us Cormanics, because it was like, oh, you're going to be staying with us? By the way, we're also going to Florida.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, the first week was Disneyland.
Yeah.
World.
Yeah. So within 3 days, Tommy gets hit with dealing with the fact that his papa passed away, which, by the way, he's done phenomenal for a 5-year-old going through everything he's gone through. Never having slept over anybody's house, to spending he knew his grandpa was in the hospital, and then he spends 8-9 days sleeping at a couple different people's houses. because a couple other the family members were jumping in and helping out as well. And then next thing you know, grandpa does pass away. Now you're living with us forever. Oh, in 2 days, you're going to get on an airplane for the first time ever.
Oh my
We're going to Florida for the first time ever. You're going to Disney. It was a lot. And he's doing really well. And probably one of my proudest moments with the family was we have this little group chat that has a couple of the cousins and aunts and friends, everybody who's been worrying and concerned about Tommy.
Yeah.
And I was texting out a couple pictures on the first day, and one of Leo's aunts texted back. She's like, I never seen Tommy look tired. Oh. And I was like, well, Tommy never hung out with us before. He's met his match.
You guys will wear him down for sure.
So now we have 6 kids.
Well, didn't you always say you wanted an even number?
Yeah. So when Leo and I first started dating, for whatever reason, because we had known each other, I used to work for him at the time and all that. And so we'd been around each other for a couple of years. And a lot of people who had known him for a long time used to always say he didn't want to have any kids. So when we actually first started dating, for a long, I don't know, the first 9 months of us dating, even after he kept telling me this wasn't the case, I just didn't believe him. I was just always holding my breath. Like, I have 4 kids. Like, this guy doesn't want to deal, he doesn't even want to have any kids. So I just kind of would hold my breath. He's going to wake up one day and realize, no, this isn't what I want. And we would be over. And I was like, I'm along for the ride and I'll deal with my heartbreak when it happens. Right.
Right.
And then we were out on a date night. I remember exactly where we were. I remember what I was wearing. We were sitting, it was this wine bar in Akron. We were sitting upstairs in this little couchy lounge area and just chatting. And then something comes up where he's like, the one hiccup, everything's going so well. Like, one hiccup is just like, I think I would want to have a kid of my own. And I know you can't do that because I had my tubes tied.
Right.
And so I was just like, well, I'm like, that's kind of surprising because I thought, he's like, I've actually never told anybody I didn't want to have kids. People just assume that, but whatever.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, well, I could always have my tubes untied and see how that goes. Like, my doctor said that could be a thing. I'm like, but you have to know that since middle school, I have always had a thing. I can't have an odd number of kids. And I had 4. No. So if we're going to have 1, we're going to have 2. And he paused. He's like, yeah, that's fine. We'll make it work. So then we have Mariah, which took us a while. I got, my tubes untied, went through the whole thing, had my first miscarriage. It took a while to get pregnant initially after the tubes getting untied. Then I had my first miscarriage, which was really difficult. It was early on. And Leo and I aren't super emotional people that way. And we both have dealt with so much punches from life and heartbreak and disappointment that we were both kind of surprised how much it did affect us emotionally. Because it was really, we found out and then 5 days later, it was super early on, I miscarried. And so we were surprised that we were both like a little bit, but it really affected my whole pregnancy with Mariah. Because I was older and I had this first miscarriage. So now every little thing, the whole time I was always stressing out.
Right.
And then Mariah's a very hard, demanding child. She was a demanding, hard baby. And people don't think so just because we're always taking her everywhere. It's like, no, we just take her everywhere and then she screams her head off there. Like, like it just is what it is. But, and she's super fun and we love her. And she is a very fun, interesting child. But she's also very demanding and she's been ever since she was a baby. So I think she was about 3-4 months old. And she was like, we had just finished a moment where she was giving us a hard time. And then Leo was like, so do you think you're going to want to have another one? I was like, yeah, no. Middle school Samoa will just be disappointed and we'll be stuck with the odd number of kids. And so life was like, oh no, we're going to make middle school Samoa happy. And now you have 6.
Oh my gosh.
So we started 2026 with a new child.
Well, you got your 6. You got your even number.
Got my even number. And they are cute. It's been a challenge, especially because even as we were weighing things back and forth, and we really went from, okay, we need to figure out what your family is doing because we cannot be the ones that take him. That was literally a conversation that my husband, again, just through to multiple family dynamics, my husband isn't super involved with his family. They're fine. There's no drama with him and them. But he just isn't always communicating with them. And, we're not over each other's houses all the time. Like, it's that thing where it's only holidays and birthdays kind of situation. And so we didn't know, is anybody talking about this? Is there a plan? Especially once we found out his uncle was in the hospital. And so I'm like, listen, you know us, we're not going to be able to pretend this isn't happening and just let whatever happens to him. I think we should have a meeting and just make sure, what is your like, what is everybody saying about it? Does your uncle have a plan? Like, what's happening? Because we just can't make it work. This is our situation. I'm still dealing with so much BS, with my older kiddos and the toxic, divorce situation there that just is never ending. And then just dynamics with even my own kids and their personalities. Right. It's like, oh, I don't know how it would work. We didn't have the room. Our house is actually pretty small considering how many people live there.
People, sometimes 10, whatever.
Yeah. And our house is like the clown car. Yeah, people just keep coming out and you're like, wait, I thought that car fit like 2 people. How is there 8?
Yeah,
especially if you see it from the outside, because the outside of it is even more deceiving than the inside, I think. Right. So we are just making a new room for Tommy because we don't have a room. But yeah, and it was just funny how, God always has a sense of humor too, right? And so here I was like, maybe not even a week apart, going from we need to contact your family and make sure they have a plan, because I don't want to be the person in the situation feeling like I have to step up, to like, oh no, we should take him.
But that's your heart. That's both you and Leo. That's your heart. And you want this little boy to have the best life that he can have. And you guys are able to provide that for him.
Yeah. Him and Mariah like crack us up, because even earlier today, we have little videos where, like they're just laughing and playing and do this again and whatever, until don't touch me. Don't look at me. He's looking at me.
It's such a dynamic of kids, right? Well, I saw the video where they're both laying there watching TV and he keeps reaching over. He goes, don't touch me. And he touches her and she goes, stop touching me. He's like, I'm not touching you.
Because he like yanks it back. Yeah. It's cute. It's been fun. It was so sweet. Him on the airplane, he was nervous and stressing out about it. And then once the plane took off, and it was a cloudy day, but then once the plane took off and we were above the clouds, you could see the sun, and it was like 6 something. So the sun was starting to, set. So it was like the pretty colors with a blanket of white clouds underneath, because it was thickly cloudy. Yeah. And it was just so sweet. Like, this is so pretty. And so we've had a good time and figuring things out one day at a time, and
that's all you can do.
And like I said, he has his moments, but overall he's doing phenomenal. I mean, his grandpa, did a really good job with him and all that, and he's ready for a new adventure.
He'll be so happy to know that he's safe and he's with a good family and he's got a playmate.
For better.
But you think about it, both of them were like
only children, basically.
Kind of, because Mariah is so young and her siblings are older. She really was. So now she's got to share the attention and all that kind of stuff. It'll be different, but you guys will make it work. You always do, for sure.
Now, next for you is back in the hospital.
Oh, yeah. I go back next week just for a quick 5-day maintenance chemo. And then at the end of February.
I feel like that goes by. I mean, we were just talking about it. I'm like, weren't you there like 2 weeks ago? But then we were like, oh, no, it was a month ago.
It was.
But it feels like a month ago was 2 weeks ago.
I know.
Maybe it's because of all the craziness we just talked about has happened. Yeah, because
all that's happened. There's a lot to do in between, right? So I'll do that. And then at the end of February, beginning March, I met with a transplant doctor, and it looks like my transplant, I have a match. Yay. I said, I feel like the Bachelorette, because I met with them and they're like, we have a match for you. and it's like a marker, like there's a 1
You even have 10. The proper rose.
I do. I need a rose. I do. Yes.
You have it right there.
There we go.
For your match.
I accepted their rose. But so that's the biggest piece. And it's a perfect match, which is even more weird, right? And I was telling someone that when I was telling you about wanting to speak Australian, I told the guy, I said, can I donor be from Australia so I can get an Australian accent? And doctors are so serious. He's like, that really doesn't work that way. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this guy thinks I'm insane. But then we started talking about the fact that what other people may have asked him.
Oh my gosh,
like,
I know. I know, because whenever I go anywhere that has signs that says don't do this or that, like we just recently, and I was telling you, we just recently went to an escape room and, the sign was saying, don't pull at things, don't do this. Don't lick anything. And I said to the instructor, I know you said that there because somebody did at some point. She's like, yep. Why would you lick a thing in the room?
Especially with all the fingers that have touched it. My gosh. So I will go in. It's going to be a long stay, 4 to 6 weeks. And I have to be isolated because of the chance of infection. They're totally taking my immune system and they're kicking it out. And they bring a brand new one in with this new bone marrow transplant that I'll get. And it'll take time for them to settle in and they start multiplying. And by the end of it, I'll have a baby's immune system. It's so weird when you think about science, and technology, and medicine is so interesting to me. I've learned so much through this process. So that's what's happening when I get out. then I will be able to also be isolated a little bit until they said 100 days you've got to get through before they can really say that everything took and you're good. So I've got a 3-month time frame after that. So it's just weird.
I remember one of the times when I was visiting you when you were first admitted and we were talking about that. The nurse said, yeah, it's about 100 days, but sometimes it can be a little shorter because they'll measure your numbers and it's all based on where your numbers are at.
So we were talking to her and I said, well, it's got to be by April because we have a race.
Right. And she told us it'd be fine. And she's like, said, oh no, by April you'll be fine.
By April you'll be fine. And so we were like, cool. So I canceled out of Dopey, but I didn't cancel out of springtime yet.
Yeah.
Because I thought I was going to be there and my costume's ready. I'm good to go. But with all this news and the delay, it took a while to find a match. And then once they find a match, they've got to go through all this protocol before they can kind of confirm that it's your match. And then they want to back up just in case something happens to the original. So you've got to have 2 in case something with the original one doesn't fly for you. And so, so springtime's out. So I reluctantly sent the email this week to say I'm not going to be able to do springtime, which was just horrible. I hated it, every minute of it.
I'm sure that was difficult.
It was.
Even going into Dopey, and I had the flat Brys with me.
Oh yeah, that was so funny.
I was a little reluctant because I don't know, is this going to be cute and funny and helpful?
It was
or is this
fun.
In some ways just making you feel worse, and trying to navigate which one?
Actually, you gave me really good time, so I'm happy. So I'm good.
It actually wasn't really good time at all.
But still, it was just so cute that I was kind of there in spirit, anyway, because I was watching you guys. I was up every day with you.
I know. Yeah. I don't know why you did that.
I woke up because I wanted to be there with you.
You're crazy.
And I wanted to see you guys take off.
I know. I was saying, wait, Bry just texted me.
I'm up.
It's 4:45. Why is she texting me?
Well, then the last day I forgot that it started earlier and I woke up and I went to check out. Wait, they're already on the.
By the way, so you had mentioned how the race started at 4:30, right? Which, you know me, right? We looked up expo stuff once we were at, ESPN Raw Motorsports. So we had nothing prepared or looked into anything. So for the 5K, which is the only race that we took the kiddos, we got there at 4 a.m. thinking it was a 4:30 a.m. We're like, but Bry said only the marathon. Yes.
I thought it was all of them. It was just the marathon.
Yeah.
So that was my bad. But at least you guys were early.
The kids loved that.
I bet they did. Thanks, Aunt Bry. I'm sure they were like, nah. So tell me a little bit about Dopey.
But it was such a bummer that nurse really had our hopes up that things would have moved along quicker. But we survived Dopey. So
that was a big deal.
Dopey number 2 done now.
That's a really big deal. And you guys actually, the one thing that I want to be able to work my way up to is to be able to ride rides when I go. But you have to be fast because the rides take time because you don't get any special treatment, right?
It depends. So a couple of things that people did, and I don't know.
Single rider maybe pass.
Yeah, and I don't know how they did this. They must have planned to. I don't know how people did this. Either that they have a bunch of money to burn, and they just bought a park hopper pass or something for the day, or maybe they just bought a 5-day park hopper pass or something. But there was a couple people that they assumed what time they would be there, and they did the skip the line thing.
Wow!
But then it also does depend on the worker.
Yeah.
So some workers will let you go, but at Everest they had told us it was going to be a 35-minute wait, but it wasn't. And we were kind of joking, I bet they did that on purpose to the runners.
Sure.
But the funny thing this year, I don't know when they changed the route, if this year's the first time or if maybe they've done it before, because the last time I did a full marathon there was 2014 when we did the inaugural Dopey. But this time you also ran through Hollywood Studios when it was open. And we didn't, again, I mean, I think Leo knew that, but just from knowing the buzz of prior Run Disney events, the buzz is always ride Everest, right. Get a margarita in Epcot kind of thing is what you could do during the full. And so, we ran through Animal Kingdom, did that. And then when we were going through Hollywood Studios, which at this point, it's mile 23 and a half.
Yeah.
We ran past, you came in from the back of the park where you ran through where the show is, that nighttime show.
Yeah.
And then we ran through that long, windy way out, kind of like how we did for the Tower of Terror 10-miler, which Run Disney, bring that back. Just bring back nighttime races.
They were great.
Please, we had fun with those.
Mm-hmm.
So you came back that way. So you came up from behind Tower of Terror and we run past it. And then he was like, oh, Tower of Terror is 25 minutes. And we just kind of kept running. And then I was like, well, should we do it? I'm like, I guess I never really, it's not I didn't think about it because it's not a thing. It's always, are you going to be able to ride Everest or not? And then a little bit down the road. At this point, we're by where you go in for the Phantasmic. So kind of by where they have
that corner.
Yeah, that corner down the street where they have a Beauty and the Beast show too.
Yeah.
And I'm like, let's just go. So then we ran back.
Yeah,
so we added a quarter mile. Ran back, got in line. There was a handful of runners that were in line with us, and we were just in our, we were in full-fledged costumes. So then there's people around us asking questions. I remember we were getting off the ride, and this one couple was like, so did you guys just like get to ride this for free? Did you have to pay? We're like, no, yeah, we're just running through the park. So we just, popped in. Man, that's so sweet. I would want to do that. I'm like, yeah, just run 26 miles. They're like, yeah, never mind. No, I don't want to do that, which technically isn't even for free because we do pay a hot penny for
that.
For the races. But no, yeah, Dopey went good. We had the kiddos. I was Cruella DeVille with a wig. And the whole time, my husband is just, I just can't, like you with the wig. It's just so different. That was like his one main comment. Ended up having to carry Mariah most of the way. She is very much a Brazilian baby and not a morning person and wanted nothing to do with that.
Oh, shoot.
But then I had that one picture of you. Well, I had two pictures of you by yourself from previous races. The one was the outfit, the Belle outfit that you mentioned you were going to wear. So I blew that one up the largest. But then the other three, I knew which costumes you had. Yeah. So I chat GPT'd you into the costumes.
I loved it.
But you know how chat GPT won't give you a perfect replica of the person?
Right.
And so it was just hysterical. You'll have to see the pictures up close. It's just hysterical how we like tweaked what you look like. But my favorite was the flounder because I would post I posted a picture of the costume from the Etsy shop and then your picture and was like, oh, put this person, wearing the costume. And the flounder one, it kept like the knob of the mannequin of the costume that had the bow tied to it. Oh my gosh. And so on top of your head, if you look, there's like this metal like knob coming up. And I'm like, that's awesome.
So it didn't give me like, 10 fingers on one hand or something like sometimes it does,
Yeah.
It messes you up.
It was nice too for the 10K. We were in line for the first character. We screwed up our corral thing with the 10K and ended up being at the end of B because we thought we were in B when we walked up, but it was really C and this whole thing. Karen's out there. Let me tell you this story. So here we are with the whole gang and we're getting our bibs, right? And when you go to a Run Disney Expo, there's it's just like any other marathon expo, right? There's all the little booths that you go to depending on your race length and, the challenge or whatever, and then your bib number. And so each booth at Run Disney has two lines. And at the top, it will say, 20,000 to 22,000 and then 22,001 to 24,000 or whatever. And I walk up to the booth. My line was on the left, I look up and there's nobody in line. And the people on the right that had the bib number 24,000 to whatever, they're like 10 deep. And the lady who was on my side she wasn't even like calling people over or anything. She was just leaning over when I walked up, helping something with the lady on that side, but she wasn't fully fledged taking on those people clearly. So I just walked up because my bib number had nobody waiting in that line, right? And this woman who was at the front is like, there is a line. And I'm like, right, but my bib number is on this side and there's no line here. She's like, yeah, well, we were all waiting. And now, because there was one person, there was 10 people waiting. And there was one person who was now the second person in line who waited in that line, even though her bib number was on my side. And why she did that, I don't know. But she's not even the one who's yelling at me. And so I turned to the lady and I was just like, yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't know you were waiting there. This is my bib number. I'm on this side. And every other line, my husband did the same exact thing. He waited in this long line and the people and where he was waiting, nobody was bumping over to the other side that didn't have that bib number that was listed. Exactly. They were all waiting in the long line because that's where their bib number was. And then, so I turned to the lady behind me who now left that line and came behind me. I'm like, I'm sorry. I didn't know you could have gone in front of me. But at that point, the lady was already helping me. So I couldn't be like, just go in front of me. And then the lady next to me makes another snide little remark. And I'm like, listen, I just replied, I didn't do anything wrong. I would have been happy to let her go in front of me. But this is the number that my bib number is on. And she just kept, and I was like, oh, this is lovely. Like at Disney. Place in the world, and like, she's got to be a pain. It doesn't even affect you. You're at the front already getting your bib. Why are you even talking to me right now?
Right.
And it's just one of those things. It's like, be kind to people because you have no idea what battles they're fighting. It's like, woman, you have no idea. This is your biggest concern is that I'm in front of people, 6 people waiting in line. in a line where I'm supposed to be. Like, this is the worst thing that happens to you today. Great for you. What a wonderful life you have. Like, I have no idea where I'm coming from, what my life is like, what I'm dealing with today. You don't know. Yeah. You're at Disney. Like, mind your business, get your bib and move on. So yeah, and we had a couple other incidents like that. But other than that, it was a great weekend, super fun. We got at the 10K, because then the same thing happened at 10K. People wouldn't let us get to Corral B once we were like getting ready to weave into the race. And then I was just trying to get to the front to get to the Run Disney worker. She's like, well, he's not going to let you by. And I was just like, hey, excuse me. Like, we're supposed to be in B and I think we got in the wrong place. Oh yeah, no, go. Let me see your bib. Yep, just go. And I was just like, I wish I would have seen the lady again, but I'm too nice. I didn't even like bother to be like, I went across the line. But yeah, and we at the 10K, the lines were so long by the time we started. It was definitely the worst line. Yeah, for the characters. It was worse than the 5K. But we were able to then, waiting in line, get the characters for the half and the full. And boy, like, does that make such a difference in getting through the race, because my husband can run faster than me. So we were game planning, like, which characters we would go to. And then depending on how far, because the list also gave you the mile markers and it was pretty accurate.
Where was the list? How'd you find it?
I don't know, pirated online, it's not official. Cool. It's not official.
One year we found it, but it was hard.
Yeah. Somehow somebody had it. And it was accurate for the half and the full. It was accurate on,
that's nice.
What character it was, and give or take 0.1, 0.2 miles, it was the right mile marker. And so we kept game planning. And so I wasn't even worried about the miles at that point. Like, we didn't even notice mile markers, because it was just like, okay, now it's like 3/4 of a mile to this one. So take off when we get here. And that, but going into the full, mentally, the whole morning, I may have cursed you out a few times.
Well, yeah, because if you remember in the beginning, we talked about I'm the one that got us into all this, and then I'm at home in my bed while they're running 26 miles.
And I was just like, I don't even know how many times I said to my husband, like, I can't believe I'm about to run 26 miles.
It's so long.
But, we got started, and we were it wasn't even a mile at a time. It really was like the character list. Yeah.
Which is good.
So I think we did 12 characters, 11 or 12 for the half. So we stopped at most. And then for the full, we did 18.
Oh my gosh.
16 or 18, one of the two. So yeah, it was a good time.
Oh my gosh. So going back to the rides, I know that you did Everest. I know that you did Tower of Terror, but I saw a post where you did 3, and I'm wondering what the third one was.
Well, it's not a family show, people, right? So we can just say what we're going to say here. My husband and I completed our own little Disney challenge we completed it through Dopey, and we didn't think we were going to, because we didn't know the map. We didn't look at the maps until we were there, but we created our own little bit of magic at each of the Disney parks.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Companion bathrooms.
Well, there you go.
It all started, it was not something we really planned. It all started, my husband had never been to Disney until we got married. And then we got married and we went to Disney for our wedding weekend, ran the Star Wars races. It was my trick of, oh, look, we're going to run at Disney, right, honey? Because you love to running. And all the kids did the 5K with us, and Isaac did the challenge with us. So he did all 3 of the races and all this, and it was great. And then for Christmas, which got delayed, I got him a Disney trip. Christmas of 2019, I got him a Disney trip. I got him a Disney trip for Christmas. And it was meant to be just him and I, to then experience it, as adults. Where he could be what he wanted to do was the focus of it, and really experience it from that perspective versus having all the kids there and what do they want to do and what's their fun thing. And then it got delayed because of COVID. We were supposed to have gone in the spring of 2020. So by the time we went, it was Christmas of 2020, or just before Christmas. And so, we're walking around the parks. It was our second day at one of the parks, and we're just like people watching, right? Because it's a great people watching place. And we don't have our own kids that we're tracking. Right. We're just standing there. And we're just seeing all the families that looked miserable, to be honest with you, which I'm so sad, because we had a moment this trip where that was me. I'm like, oh man, I'm one of those families right now. And we just started joking about it, and all these parents are yelling at their kids, and all these husband and wives are passive aggressive. Yeah. And we started joking about it. And then there was one family in particular that was really bad. And for whatever reason, we must have been waiting in line or something. We were near them for a hot minute. And we're like, do you think that there's like any sex going on in that hotel room, like this whole trip, you know, based on like their interaction? So then from that, we were joking and, you know, what do you think the statistics is of how many people on families on Disney vacations are having sex or not? And then we were like, how many people do you think would have like do it in the park?
Oh my God.
And the next thing you know, we were like, do you think we could pull it off?
Oh
and we did. And so Mariah actually was conceived based on their birthday at Epcot. So yeah, so that was that. And then I think the second time we did a Run Disney event, maybe the first time, we were kind of like, oh wait, we're going to be running through a different park we haven't been to before. Could we do this during a race? And then we did. And then it became okay, now we got to do all 4 parks. So
challenge. So you finished it off.
We finished it off. We were only halfway done, but because we did Epcot 2 days, we knocked that off one day. Or not Epcot.
Magic Kingdom.
Magic Kingdom 2 days. We knocked that off once and then knocked off Animal Kingdom on the second day.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
But then the funny thing was that we didn't have this issue when we did the first time because we both started in A for that race. And
you're ahead of everybody, yeah.
And we didn't stop for as many characters. Right. So we were on the thinner part of the crowd. But this time, because we kept stopping for so many characters, we ended up being in the thick of it. And so when we get to the Magic Kingdom, we found this bathroom because it has to be the companion restrooms. And so not every restroom area has a companion restroom. And it was kind of tucked away. It wasn't one that's off of the main road. So we thought we'd be fine. And we got into it fine. Nobody was there. But then apparently everybody and their mother needed to use that bathroom. And so there we are. And people are like yanking at the door. And we're like, oh man, now we got to come out of here. And so I come out and I'm limping. Although my hamstring was generally bothering me. Right. But I'm limping and leaning on my husband's shoulder. And then I even wait a little bit to like take off running again. But then at Animal Kingdom, nobody was bugging us. Nobody was trying to get into the bath. Oh, and then the line was so long too at Magic Kingdom. So we kind of felt bad too because the regular bathroom lines was like so long, I think just for the women. But at Animal Kingdom would come out and there's 4 workers waiting to go in there. We're like, oh shoot. So I'm like really like milking it. And the guy's like, do you need a wheelchair? We're like, no, we're okay. I'll be all right. You know, and I told him, look at that. My acting classes are working because they thought I was needing a wheelchair.
There you go.
So yeah.
Good practice.
So we completed a Disney challenge.
All right. This is good then. This is good. So
Fun
those
times.
are the 3.
Those are the 3 rides.
I would say that throws the gauntlet.
My husband posted that. I was like, what are you doing?
He's having fun. He wants
he clearly was having fun. He said, what did he say to me when we went to Tower of Terror? He's like, oh, look at that. I got to go up twice today. And I'm like, oh, nice.
See, there you go.
So, yeah. But it was fun. Like, you know, we've talked about, you mentioned, even I running up front, when I did the Dopey the last time, for whatever reason, the other thing that was really weird, I felt fine. I did not train that well. And granted, when I ran, I think I averaged, a 10-minute pace.
Right.
For the most part. For the full, I started around the 10:30 pace. And then by the time that we got halfway past, I was probably more running like an 11:30 pace when I would run versus waiting in lines and stuff. But it was like eerie almost. And even my husband was like, yeah, I feel totally good too. I don't feel like I ran a marathon. So that was really weird. Even the next day, my VMOs are usually sore, my ITs, I was like nothing. I felt better. Like I've had this hamstring thing that keeps coming and going because, me holding Mariah, this is the hip that I hold her on. And my husband would obviously take care of me and be fine. But then I'm always holding her. So it just would always flare up. Like that was fine. I'm like, this is so weird. My foot hated me that day. But we finished the race at 11:23, and by 1:30 we were leaving our hotel room with the kids in tow to go to Magic Kingdom. Yeah,
I was watching you finish, and you were trying to get the crowd going.
Yes, and
I was like, she looks amazing.
Yeah, I felt like the tiredness of running 26 miles as I was wrapping up.
Yeah,
and they it got hot.
But I heard.
They ended up cutting the course short, I think about a mile after a certain time, which we were past that. So my watch said we ran 7-point-something miles. But,
sure.
But yeah, like I was surprised. Like on Monday, I felt okay most of the day, even Sunday evening. My feet were definitely, it wasn't, I don't know how to explain it. It felt like almost like my bones were sore and like it like cracked all sorts of ways or something. But I did wear the UFOs to the
saw that.
park, and but then Monday morning I woke up like I was stiff when I would get up to use the bathroom in the middle of the night, or when I first, I was definitely stiff like after a good workout.
But you felt
But once
good.
I got moving, nothing, which
That's
was weird.
amazing. That's
I was
good.
telling Leo, I'm actually more sore now, starting Thursday, Friday, being back in the swing of things at home than I was on Monday morning. But yeah, it was a good time. I think we're definitely ready to do it again and make you do the 26 miles because you're not going to get out of this.
I'm ready. Okay. Well, we'll sign up and let's go. And this time, nothing's going to get in our way.
Yes. So yeah, cheers to 2026.
We are happy it's here. We want it to stay around for a while with no repercussions, nothing happening.
Yeah.
Get through the next couple of months and then life will be back to normal.
Let's hope so.
Okay.
Well, thank you guys for joining us again.
We appreciate you so much. And again, click that like button, subscribe, join us again. We will have some new episodes coming out soon, and we'll keep you posted on everything that's going on in our crazy lives.
It'll be something.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.